And in the meantime, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who announced her country will take as much as 500,000 refugees each year, has little time for European plans. The country is already moving to phase 2 in dealing with the refugees within its borders, as Ayman Sikseck explains.
Some 3,700 refugees crossed the Hungarian-Austrian border Thursday morning. Europe is facing a real challenge. Crisis management is important indeed, but can a crisis be turned into opportunity? Many have praised Germany's unwavering stance in this regard. But can mass migration also prove beneficial for the country? The economy of the Eurozone's wealthiest nation may be headed for trouble. Germany announced it will allocate an estimated $6.6 billion in aid for refugees fleeing Syria. It's a worthwhile investment for the country as it faces a dwindling workforce. Data from Eurostat, Europe's official data agency, shows that the backbone of the German workforce, employees aged between 20 and 64, will drop by 30% by the year 2060. In the next 15 years, at least 5 million workers will fall out of the German workforce. The influx of young refugees looking for economic opportunities could therefore be instrumental for Germany. This is why welcome classes have been already set up in Berlin to welcome refugee children and quickly integrate them into society. German Chancellor Angela Merkel visited one such class on Thursday.
Berlin's concept to quickly grant everyone who is coming here a place in such a welcome class, I think, is a very future-oriented concept. Urgent action is needed if there are 1,000 refugees coming to Berlin every day. It is a huge challenge.
But wait, if the benefits for the economy are so great, why are other EU nations like the United Kingdom not making equally generous moves?
We are proposing that Britain should resettle up to 20,000 Syrian refugees over the rest of this Parliament. In doing so, we'll continue to show the world that this country is a country of extraordinary compassion.
20,000 refugees, as opposed to Germany's commitment to take in 500,000 refugees a year for several years. The answer for this disparity is demographics. While Germany's population is predicted to drop by 15 million people over the next 6 decades due to its aging population, the UK's population is expected to exceed that of Germany by 20 million people over the same period. British Prime Minister David Cameron was subjected to international pressure to render the UK's stance on migration more flexible. At the United Nations headquarters in New York today, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon had some stronger words to say.
In Syria, Iraq, and beyond, we are doing everything possible to save lives. We need political will and we need funds. All those with influence must rise above their narrow interest and work for the greater good of the region and our world.
But these narrow interests that Ban Ki-moon mentioned are determining both Europe and the UK's migration policies, and for refugees, determining their future. And as for the financial burden on European economies, that could soon be a concept of the past. A report from the University College London found that immigrants from the 10 countries that joined the EU in the past 10 years had contributed more to the UK than they took out in benefits.
And with me right now here in the studio is Ayman Sikseck. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming to the studio. So, Ayman, we spoke a lot about the migration crisis in the last few days, and we always repeated the word integration. And it seems that Germany already trying or is seeing what can happen if integration won't happen in Germany?
That's right. I mean, it was exactly last week that we talked about the dangers of lack of integration with Germany opening its borders. Back then it said it will accept an unlimited number of migrants from Syria. Now it's saying 500,000. It's still a very large number every year. But as we saw in the story just now, it's starting very, very early. It's starting with very young children in schools, immediately incorporating them into the German society. Now, this is part of Germany's package of seeming humane, packaging this as part of the humanitarian assistance so that they're not out on the streets, they're not unsafe. But of course, there's also a political motive here, with Germany thinking forward to the future. If these children are not integrated into German culture, where will they go?
I'm trying to think from the refugee point of view. How, what is, let's say, do they really want to integrate because they're coming from such a different culture?
Well, I think it's very complicated. What we've been seeing in the last few days is that there were a lot of migrants from Syria and refugees from Syria who have been converting to Christianity in hopes to really integrate faster into the German society. And what's happening is that they've been so scarred from where they've come from that they're willing to do almost anything to better their lives in Germany. Now, part of their motive is, of course, economic. The other part is security. I think there is cooperation in this instance. It's too early to tell now, but there is cooperation between the people seeking help and Germany who's willing to help them.
So how come the other countries in Europe are not copy-pasting what Germany is doing?
Well, not all of them can, and it's not as beneficial financially for all of them. In the case of the UK, we just saw the Prime Minister talking about it, David Cameron, and as you saw, the Parliament people began to shout. They're not happy even about him accepting 20,000 more migrants every year. There are conservative powers within the UK. They do not want, they have a clear agenda of wanting to reduce immigration into the UK, and really what's most important to remember is that they do not want a political differentiation between migrants and asylum seekers. They don't want that to be a thing as it is in Germany.
You know, I'm looking at the situation right now in Britain, for example, and if we will look like in Britain, this is the small case, but the larger case is the threatening of the extreme right in Europe and how it's affecting all the migration crisis and how it will affect the political balance in Europe. And it seems that it has a major effect on the situation.
That's right, not only on the political parties within Europe, but in the UK, it's also affecting the migrants themselves. The Refugee Council has said that the rhetoric used by the Prime Minister David Cameron is inflammatory and dangerous. They've accused him of this, and actually the applications by Syrians to be granted asylum within the UK have almost flatlined. In 2014, there were 24,000 requests. That may seem like a lot, but compared to other countries, that's almost nothing. So the migrants and asylum seekers themselves are already reacting to what they're hearing the Prime Minister saying.
Yes, and of course, probably we'll continue talking about this crisis again. Ayman Sikseck, thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.